And our human eye is just going to get duller, dude. Because the more and more we like scroll and watch just seconds, milliseconds of something,
That's true.
and scroll again,
Yeah.
we're expecting less.
100%.
Like.
It really is going to
It's
get
just going
duller.
clunk, clunk, clunk. Yeah.
100%.
Us bitches.
So yeah, this is the Waiting for Death podcast. This is the road version. I'm gonna actually take off my because it's too
take
hot
off
in here.
your home jacket. Get on the road version.
Hold on, let me put this down.
I told you I'm starting a podcast. I don't know what it's going to be about, but
Yeah.
it's going to happen. So you'll have to be a guest on it if I have guests.
Hell yeah, dude! I will fly out to LA to do that. Yeah, this is
Bring
the
your
wait.
gear.
Right.
Just kidding.
This is the Waiting for Death podcast with Joe Camerota, and my guest today is George Basil. George is an actor. He's an amazing actor, and he's starring in a film that I am producing called Didn't Die, which will be out in a few years, a couple years, not a few years, 1.5, maybe 2, probably. You know what I mean? By the time it goes to festivals and then gets bought and all that stuff.
It's in black and white. How cool is that?
It's very cool. It's amazing. It's a modern day Twilight Zone. It's a modern day Twilight Zone. Yeah. It's very amazing. And so yeah, George is an amazing actor, and since I'm on this this road trip doing this movie, I figured, hey man, let's do a road episode of the Waiting for Death podcast.
Good idea.
With George Basil. First question, man. Let's dive right in. Do you believe in God? If yes, what is that?
Yeah, good questions. They're all going to be good, aren't they? Yeah. For big questions, I have to like clear all the booze out of my throat. I'm like,
There's no wrong answer, obviously.
That's true, because we wouldn't know if it was wrong, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope this isn't a cop-out, but I do... I can only say for certain that I don't buy any of the incarnations of it that I've been pitched.
Okay.
So I've read... When I was a teenager in high school...
I love that. I feel the exact
Buddhism,
same way.
right?
Yeah.
Like, it could be fucking anything, but we don't know it. And the things that we have associated with it, or you know, the images that we have put on what God is, probably has nothing to fucking do with it.
Yeah.
I think. It's
Right.
It's a genderless, speechless, like... something. It comes from a star's asshole and it shoots right up yours, and we're all the it somehow.
Yeah.
You know, all of us are it at the same time somehow.
Yeah.
And it's always happening, but that's God. It's not a thing, it's a happening. And it's
100%, dude. I like that is 100% my answer all the time. Is that reality is chaos, God is chaos, all the order.
And a church can't hold it, dude.
Yeah,
Ain't
exactly.
a fucking church that can hold it.
No order can hold it. Literally, no order can hold the chaos.
But it's scary to say God is chaos, because people hear that and they're like, what? But chaos means insecurity or violence or, you know, like power struggle and stuff. And I guess maybe it does. Maybe chaos does.
You know what I always think about? Here's my logic. People go, no, there's no chaos because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. You know what I mean? And they say, like, that's order. That's God doing order. And I always think to myself, though, man, that's a bleep on the radar. Mm-hmm. And when you zoom out over all of time, over all of existence, that was nothing. That was actually chaos. That was actually
it started as chaos. Yeah.
That small bit of the sun rising in the east and setting in the west
created life.
Was just a little like sliver of order.
Yeah.
Of order within this grand scheme of chaos.
I don't think it's order. I think it's just symmetry. And I think chaos is symmetrical, just like order is. They're both reflections of the other. And just because our sun comes up and goes down in the same way, like you're saying, it doesn't come down and go up in the same way. It's
100. It changes with the seasons.
Like seasons are chaos, but we refuse to be like, well, then God is chaos, because that's scary.
100%. Yeah. There's all these nuances and these spectrums within that whole sunrise in the east and sets in the west.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And so it's not even ordered when you think about it.
How crazy is birds? I mean, honestly, just birds. Like tiny, are they reptiles? Are birds reptiles? No.
No, they're not.
They're mammals?
I don't know. I don't know if there's like dolphins where some birds are mammals. I don't know.
Yeah, there are dolphin birds, dude. There are flying dolphins.
There are mammal fish. So I don't know. I don't know.
But there's a creature on the planet that soars, and we as humans wish every day we wish we could fucking do that. At some point, we don't want to walk or run or whatever. We wish we could just be like. And fly off into the air. And it's impossible. We'll never be able to do it. Our bodies biologically won't be able to do it. But it's a thing on this planet. You think chaos isn't everywhere? That's chaos. Chaos makes that animal and us.
You know what I have to think about them? There's something about human beings where we can manufacture stuff. We can manufacture planes. And when you do think about that, that becomes, as crazy as it sounds, man, because we can do that and animals don't, that becomes an extension of us because it came from us.
We identify
right?
with it, yeah.
You know what I mean? So you sit there and you go, hey, my phone is another arm that I have. It literally is. Like we as human beings invented
my phone is eyes. It's
all
like,
of it.
yeah.
You can't discount that because it's a part of the human experience. It's a part of what us as human animals are capable of. And so you go, okay, like dogs and everything, they can't add arms. They can't add extra features. They can't add cyborg features, but we can. So technically, to a certain extent, it's kind of natural.
To do that?
Yeah. It's literally evolution.
I mean, yeah, dogs don't possess... man, I love my dogs so much.
Oh, yeah, they possess some of it. They can create.
They possess
create,
certain things, but
to a 4-year-old level, I think.
That's the thing about it, though, is like you have a dog and you love just how much it lives. You just love how much it lives and loves its life and loves you and loves living. Yeah.
It trusts in the universe.
It doesn't have any of the complications of like wanting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All it ever feels with, in terms of my dogs anyway, they're very food motivated. So it's like the only time I ever see them like want is if there's food on the table, food on the floor. Somehow there's a food element and they're like, oh yeah, that satisfies my fucking mouth or whatever, my taste buds.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're just like resting or loving you.
Dude,
that's cool.
I saw this TikTok with a woman who had lost her dog, and someone in the town had called her because they saw her dog in the woods.
Lost.
So so she came to meet the dog. The dog didn't remember her at first
because it had wilded out.
Yeah.
Bitch.
It's apparently when a dog is abandoned, its brain will reset itself to a wild animal
to survive.
To survive,
Crazy.
and it will forget the previous way that it used to be fed because it now needs to fight for food. That's fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that TikTok, it made me think very interesting thoughts about homeless people and schizophrenic people. Have they been so abandoned that their brains have reset?
100%. They're back in a
flighter, constant
survival
flighter
state.
Fight.
Yeah. Yeah, and then who knows the impact of like the mental illness that they may be dealing with on that. But I think you're totally right because it happens when I go camping, dude.
Right. To a small degree.
Yes, to a very like minor degree.
To a microcosm. Yeah.
If you
100.
If you pack a bag and you go out there for 3, 4, 5 nights or whatever, you come back just different enough to be like, what is this again? Oh wait, work and bullshit and whatever. But being without a home and sort of outside, I can't imagine the judgment of everyone else that is homed, you know, like being an outcast essentially in modern society must fucking suck.
Yeah, there's more and more of that, man.
There's a ton of it.
Not to keep on referencing TikToks, but I saw a TikTok of homeless people sleeping in an encampment in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
That's cold.
Right?
Yeah.
And you sit there and you go, man, when homelessness
is
hitting...
Go to LA, dude. Come to my house.
Right?
Yeah.
When you sit there, but you go, hey, man, homelessness is hitting Green Bay, Wisconsin hard?
Yeah.
What the fuck,
I know.
Man?
Yeah.
You know? If you're sleeping outside in Green Bay, Wisconsin, you earned a home in my book.
Yeah.
You were in the government to just go, hey, man, you know why we're giving you this free apartment?
Just to live here.
We caught you sleeping outside in the cold in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So we're going to check off a box that you're not even sane enough to move to LA. So you know what? Here's your here's your apartment because I don't even think you can hold the job at McDonald's, man. You're literally sleeping in the winter in Green Bay,
You've already
Wisconsin.
lost your mind if you're trying to sleep outside in Green Bay.
They had air mattresses
The odds must
with
be
comforters.
so. Yeah, you're stranded. That's the only reason that I'd spend a night outdoors in Green Bay is if like.
They had a whole setup. It wasn't even a one night roughing it. I'm gonna
Good. I mean,
call
that's the
my
only way to
mom
survive
tomorrow.
it.
You know what I mean? They
So,
were,
a whole setup, yeah.
yeah,
Man, yeah, I would.
it's fucking crazy.
I definitely try to hide like inside of someone in Green Bay. I would do the Star Wars shit.
You might, you might slut out for a place to
I'd
stay.
slut out,
Slut out
quick.
Slut out with a. I'm not gonna put a number on it, but you know what I'm saying. And
Just for a garage. If I could sleep in a garage with like wind like walls that broke the wind so that I didn't die, I'd do anything that a man or a woman asked for, or anybody, anyone.
dude, I'm kind of the same, man. I sell out quick. I really. If someone's like, hey, man, no,
Because we enjoy the touch. That's the sad part.
Wants to trade my mouth and my butthole for a place to stay.
Touch it.
I'm open.
It's yours. Yeah.
I'm gonna
You can edit it however you.
Oh no, I'm keeping at it for sure. So, question number 2: do you believe in the devil? Good. And if yes, what is that? If no, why not?
Yeah, it's a good number 2 question because it's shitty.
Kind of is actually,
it's
but
the
you
devil.
gotta
you gotta
play the opposite side. Yeah. You know, it's like as we talked about the duality of the universe.
Right.
Before. Yeah.
Totally. I think in the same way that it's a concept of fear or control that God, quote unquote, could be.
Yeah.
Or I guess not quote unquote, but like unquote unquote. I think the devil has to exist. It's just the opposite side. It's like what we're saying. There's symmetry to chaos. There's symmetry to order. There's symmetry for everything humans do because we're not that creative.
Fair enough, right? Yeah, we invent something and then think of the opposite.
Just gotta.
You're
There's always
right. There's a limit to is it is or is it ain't.
Yeah.
And if it isn't, what is it?
And why not? And how is it not? And all that shit. And it's like there's a big open space that we know nothing about or very little about. And we don't even know how to ask the right questions. I think we're all asking the same ones that we've been asking for like hundreds, thousands maybe of years. It's all just about power, what's normal, what's not, war, fucking, eating, war.
Yeah.
Like the same. And God, you can sprinkle through it because we have wars for God, we fuck for God, we kill for God, we do all. So you do that for the devil too, man. I fucked the devil, or we fuck devilishly.
I was thinking earlier today about how I would gladly eat lunch with my enemies, even just to tell them that I hate them.
Definitely.
Because lunchtime just comes. I was thinking about that. And in a weird way, you just sell out for lunch.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what, man? I'll tell you how much I hate you over lunch. Would you like lunch?
I'll buy it.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're like, hey, man, I do hate you. But even more important than that, I need to eat.
Yeah, totally. Let's have a lunch together, and I'll tell you how much I hate you.
Right?
Yeah.
Something about that, man.
That's symmetry too. That's you satisfying yourself with a daily necessity of lunch,
ritual.
And adding a little bit of satisfaction to it on the other side, the devil. Like,
fair enough, yeah.
We need it. We hurt ourselves more than we hurt anybody else, but we hurt everybody a lot, I think.
People do, man. People, I think sometimes even in trying to make a stand for myself, even good and healthy stands.
Good. Boundaries are a good thing, yeah.
It hurts people.
Definitely.
And you see it, and you just go, hey, man, it is what it is, man. It's a part of life, man. You know what I mean? I've suffered too, and I need to make my stand, and that's just that. And it's some cold shit, man, but unless you've suffered yourself, unless you've had trauma yourself, you can't confidently make a stand. It's weird.
That's the other weird thing is that everyone has whatever the trauma is that they have.
Everyone.
Their own little
some more than others, but either way,
a trauma is a trauma.
Yeah, a person has trauma. A person has something that they
are
think
trauma. Yeah,
they think, man, to a certain degree, everyone thinks they're the most they're the person who suffered the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those moments.
It's true. Bob Marley has a lyric of every man thinks their burden is the heaviest.
Yeah.
Nothing is more true than that. It's like
Right.
you're burdened when you're poor, you're burdened when you're wealthy. You're burdened on all sides because it's our lot. It's like what we do as, I guess, our brains. It feels like we, at some point, missed a link. We missed an evolutionary step. And that was probably a cool spiritual connection. This is just my guess. I have no idea. No one's told me. But it was probably a cool spiritual connection. At some point in our human timeline, we missed it. And we started telling ourselves this bullshit. And our brain atrophied to literally now just fuck us, each and every one.
I think you're 100% right.
It's possible, huh?
Can I tell you what I am a big believer on in what you just said? There are two types of people in the world that I believe. First type of person, I've talked about this in podcasts before, because this is like a core belief of mine.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up to you is I think you are the latter type, which is the lesser type, which is, I think, the healthier type. I think there's two. You have to gamify life in order to play it, right?
And laugh at it.
And laugh at it. And there's two ways to gamify life. You can either gamify life. There's two ways to play life.
Financially?
You can play life like a sports game, or you can play life like a musical instrument. Think about it. Those are two forms of play.
Expression, yeah.
One is playing to win, and the other is playing just to play. Think about it. When you play a sports game, you play to win. When you play a musical instrument, you play just to play. You play just to get better. And I think there are certain types of human beings, and it works on a spectrum. Everyone has a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Everyone has a little bit of both. But certain types of human beings have the play-to-play aspect more than the play-to-win aspect. And it's like we were talking earlier about acting. You're like, man, it's tough, man. I struggle with it. You know, I audition for something, and it lives in my head and everything like that. But the fact that you're struggling against that play-to-win, means that you're a play-to-play person. You're literally saying, hey, I don't like this play-to-win mentality that I have. Yeah. That's all it takes to be a play-to-play person is just to shun the play-to-win mentality. Just to be like, I need to get
miss
over
winning.
this.
I do like winning, and I do.
Of course,
when you don't win, you miss it.
Everyone does, but the difference is everyone appreciates winning. Everyone likes their ego to be strong.
I love it. I devil fuck winning.
But the difference is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel like you are the person that needs somebody else to lose so that you can feel like
I don't want to see that person. I don't ever want to meet that person because I feel bad.
100, dude. But some people
lose.
They thrive off that. They thrive off of knowing other people lost to their win.
Yeah.
They thrive off it. And ready for this? Ready for this, George? That's like 90% of people.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that you, the person that's trying to fight against that feeling in order to sustain this I'm good enough before the eyes of God, that's 10% of people. Easy. Most people are just trying to beat somebody else constantly. And they can even name that person, oddly enough.
Yeah.
And dude, I struggle with it too. You struggle with it. We all struggle with it. But
Yeah,
what I'm
for sure.
saying is I think certain people have a compass that points the right direction as opposed to other people. I'm not saying you don't struggle with it. I'm not saying you don't have envy. I'm not saying you don't have jealousy. I struggle with all this stuff too. But at least you acknowledge, hey, I don't want this.
Yeah, or I'd like to change it to be better about it somehow. Sure.
I'd like to have a different philosophy.
That's the thing that I kind of see. Yeah, I go to therapy and I really like it. I didn't grow up in a family that went to therapy, and I didn't ever go until I moved to the West Coast. Like I didn't go in Texas or New York. I didn't go until here or LA. And it's awesome.
Oh, therapy is great. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's
I love therapy. I've been in therapy my whole life, and I love it, man. My last
love
therapist
it.
was fantastic.
I
should go back. He's too deep into Brooklyn, but go on.
Yeah. It's like move his office closer to you.
Right, seriously.
I mean, mine's close.
That's great.
But it's stupendous. It does something that I think a lot of people around the globe don't do, because my sister doesn't live in the States, and she lives by this same weird taboo, which is that like it's, you know, all of the weird shit people think about therapy, where it's like, why don't you just talk to your family, or, you know, you should have friends to have this conversation with or have this relationship with that heals you and shit. But it has me in a place where I'm constantly fucking checking myself.
Yeah.
To my detriment and also to my benefit. Like I can, when I'm sitting and thinking about not interactions with others or their perceptions, but like, how did it feel and what did I love and who shined or, who do I want to help or who helped me or whatever. That kind of shit is important. And I don't think we do it. And it's largely because of technology, but it's also just because like there is no sort of random help like that. We're not taught how to do drugs to experience things like this. We're not taught how to like go to people that are professionals to help you understand things.
I was talking about this the other day with my buddy Chris Keys outside of a comedy club. And I said, Chris, and he actually named it before me. He talked about how there's other people in the world. And Mira talks about how in this movie, the center of the movie is togetherness. And my buddy Chris pointed this out. We're standing in front of the Grizzly Pear Comedy Club in Midtown. He goes, hey, man. He goes, other people, they graduate college and they don't have friends. They like go to a job and they meet their friends at their job, but their friends are kind of like their competition. Like that's what he's saying to me. He's like, so they just don't stand in front of a comedy club and talk shit ever. Yeah. They just literally don't stand in front of a comedy club and talk shit.
Right.
And me and Chris do that all the time. And he's like, that's why we're able to hold it together where we see other people fucking lose it because we have this weird outlet that you're talking about where like, why don't people just help other people? Totally. Honestly, pub culture is gone. A lot of that stuff is gone. A lot of stuff that used to be therapy is just gone.
In New York?
Well, I have it through stand-up comedy. I have this community that you're talking about, this community of people where you can literally just go and talk shit.
You vent, you express, you do all kinds of shit.
Because everyone's losing together. You know what I mean? It's not competition. Like it's just at that point, it's you're truly not competing against anybody else at the comedy club. Maybe, but not. You're just happy to have a place that lets you not spend money and stay there all the time. You know what I mean? That is like a thing in New York City. You know,
we
as comedians, more so than stage time, we need dozens of free bathrooms.
Community. yeah, totally.
Much more. I always tell it to the bookers. I go, hey, man. I go, listen, man, I want you to book me more, but I'll tell you what I need more so than you booking me is that bathroom right over there. That I have dozens of those all over New York City, and I am so grateful.
Dude, the Holiday Inn Express on 29th and 8th Avenue, when it first opened for like the first 3 or 4 years, they just, I don't know if it was like they fucking didn't know what was going on. You could walk into the lobby, say hello politely. The door was open to get to the first floor. It wasn't security locked. You would walk in. And as soon as you walked in, there was the most gleaming fucking men's and women's restroom that you've ever seen. And it was right there. And it was no one was ever in it. It was as if just no one expected there to be an open, restroom in a lobby, which in New York makes sense. But boy, we loved it.
That's great.
What a lovely place. Yeah.
Yeah.
A million poops.
If you get a scheme in New York City for free bathrooms,
It's true.
Hold it, dude. Dude, I walk in comic clubs all the time. The reservationist goes, "Are you here to see a show?" I go, "No, I'm a comic." And that's all you say. You know what I mean? Like, if they don't, a lot of times they even know you, but if they don't know you, you just go, "No, I'm a comic." Just walk right fucking past it, use the bathroom, right away walk out and just fucking leave.
Yeah.
And it's like
you just walk out and you're like, man, I bombed.
And
anyway,
right. And if they, I'll name
bombed.
the manager of the whole place out the door if they have a question. You know what I mean?
You're like, tell Mike I came and I bombed.
That is, if you are an artist in New York City, do stand-up comedy for the bathrums.
Cool community. What a cool thing. I'm sure it's like that for theater folks too.
Totally, yeah.
Artists in New York are.
You can just walk into the Magnet and just go, "Hey, I'm going to use your bathroom." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Hey,
well, maybe it's been a long time, but the lobby.
Yeah, totally. But you'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I've taken tons of classes here. I just stopped."
I'd start freaking out, dude. I'd start pulling like postcards out of my pockets and being like, "Look at me. This was me. Saturday nights, motherfucker."
So, next question. What do you think happens after you die?
Another good question. all good questions. What happens, man? I'm pretty sure that, okay, so you're not asking about when you die, like what the experience of death. You're asking about after it.
After death. And these
Death.
questions are very vague on purpose. Sometimes
Good.
people answer with very astute answers that, just kind of does answer the actual.
Yeah, they're like, biologically, your cells die and restructure.
Stuff like that. Yeah. So
I think
really
the consciousness that I assume, well, even if you're not asking about it, I'll answer to the consciousness of the question, which is like, whatever the thing is that makes you, me, and like we are awake, right?
Yeah.
The consciousness, the experience, like the snap, the life.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, whatever energy that is, I can't imagine that just goes away. So I understand cellular death. I don't understand anything about it other than like I get cells die. Even though I've never seen one die, I believe cells die. So when this thing, because I've seen it dying now, like at my age, I see differences where I'm like, oh, that didn't used to be like that. Therefore, in my brain, it's deterioration or death, right?
Yeah.
It's like things are different now. I'm not pointing to my dick.
No, I know. Yeah. but your dick might be different too. You know what I mean?
It is different. It's getting better and better.
Honestly,
and better.
I think mine's gotten bigger even in my old age. I'm not
Yeah,
even gonna lie, dude.
it's just
Sometimes
longer.
I sit there and I'm like,
It
I
just
don't know.
pulls-
Yeah, right.
It just
I think
pulls
it's like,
longer.
yeah,
dude.
I guess
Let
like,
it go.
Definitely on the limb side, it's bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
gonna lie to you, man.
My balls
you're
sag
right.
so
The
much.
sagging
I wish my
definitely
balls
sets
got
in,
hard.
yeah.
They would be huge.
I gotta tell you,
But-
in my old age, I'm a shower, not a grower.
Good for you. God bless. God bless. I think that while we will both agree cells are dying constantly, balls are growing, dicks are growing, what happens to the experience? Like what happens to this part, the alive part, right?
Yeah,
And it's one of two things. It
strengthens, oddly enough.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, more so than your body does, oddly enough, right?
Definitely,
little
your
bit
wisdom
longer, yeah.
grows as opposed to your body like withering or
Yeah.
whatever. So our bodies die, but something happens to this, and I guess my idea of where it would go is like into something else, but not like maybe a reincarnation, not specifically a reincarnation where it's like now you are this object or this being, but you go out into the rest of it. Like maybe that black openness that we're talking about, like galaxy stuff. I don't know. You go back into a star's asshole maybe for a little bit. Maybe it's celestial. Maybe it's just fucking right here. I like the idea that like if you dug a hole and put your dead cadaver in it, things would come from it. Like it would feed worm culture, it would feed fungus, it would feed this, it would feed that. And so it goes literally back into the ground, right?
Yeah.
And Earth is what covers this entire planet.
Yeah. So
whether
the
it's
same thing happens
underground.
with your soul.
So the same thing kind of happens with your soul.
But the question
Soul
is does your soul get pieced apart and you don't have the memories anymore?
I don't know if it's pieced apart as much as like, again, if my body's eaten from tip to dick, tip to toe and whatever else in worms, and each of those little like, dude, meaningless creatures. When you think of a worm, you'd like, what is a worm? Who cares? They're like in there and they will wiggle around. They don't have a brain. They're not intelligent. We don't keep them as pets. We feed them to pets. So they're meaningless and they exist. If we or our consciousness has the same dissipation, but also it extends. They are eating in the like cadaver sense. They're eating your body and they're taking it that way, and that one's taking it that way. This one's taking it that way. Like it just fucking spreads you into the ground, and then they shit you out, and then something else eats you and shits you out. So maybe getting shit out isn't so bad.
But in the sense that your body gets spread into effectively nothing, or effectively other things, everything, you know what I mean, which is nothing, you know what I'm saying, you know, everything and nothing in that way, you know what I mean, your body gets spread into everything, which is therefore nothing at the same time. no thing anymore. You know what I mean? Because it's everything now. So
Yeah.
it's no
Not one
particular
thing.
thing, not one thing anymore.
Cool.
So nothing, literally no thing. Does that happen to your brain consciousness too? I mean, does your brain consciousness get parceled apart into some ants and some trees
That'd be
and
cool.
some all that? And so I know that is fine.
Of
you know what I
like
mean,
of the
You know what I mean?
world
Like,
or of
what would
of the
you care
ether.
at that point? And honestly, that's
What
kind
the
of
fuck
good
would you
news.
care?
Yeah,
What-
I mean,
dude,
why do you need to complete your trauma at that
this
point? You know what I mean?
idea of who we are is nonsense.
Yeah.
It's
To a
total
degree.
nonsense.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Yeah,
I mean, to the degree where like
yeah.
we have to live this life
Yeah.
and do our
You
best
have
and be
to-
kind and do all those things, but
You have to
it's
stay sane and not end up on
nonsensical.
the subway, but it is nonsensical.
Yeah. No, hold it
But you have
together.
to-
Hold it together. We're not-
You gotta draw enough boundaries. You gotta take it seriously
I'm
enough.
not sleeping outside in Green Bay,
function.
Wisconsin tonight.
Yeah.
But
Because you made a few good choices boundary wise that they probably didn't make, and they're probably still arguing with their dead father inside their head because they didn't tell their father he was an asshole while he was alive.
I didn't either.
Honestly,
And I
you
should
know what I mean? And,
And I should have.
and you know, if you get a chance, honestly, I always tell people that if you hate someone, tell them now, man, because if they die, you're gonna end up that guy in Wisconsin sleeping.
True. And hating him forever and like talking about it when you
Yeah.
walk around.
When you walk around and shit and stuff.
Yeah,
but
there's
honestly,
him.
if you hate someone, fucking say it now. If you hate someone today, tell that person now.
Yeah.
You'll get to the other side. You'll feel better. I've always done that, man. If
You
I don't
just
like a
created,
person.
Yeah. You just
I
created more crazy people walking around. Just
know,
being
right?
like, I hate you.
I
Cheryl.
very few people, man, but people in my family that I have beef with, man. They know.
That's something that's different. That's something that's like not just people that you may hate or have hatred towards or any of it, judge hard, whatever the fuck. But that's like family. That's like your people. All of us have those people, dude. There are people in every single family that you're like, you don't fit me, you don't fit this,
Yeah.
and I hate you for it, or whatever it is.
Sometimes it's a lot of people if you're the black sheep.
Sure.
Sometimes it's like
Yeah.
you only know you're sane because a third of people are telling you you're not sane, and it's literally like a large enough portion, or a third of people are telling you are sane.
Yeah.
And it's literally a large enough portion. You know what I mean? That you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
you know what I mean? And dude, that happens, man. You know what I mean? I know in my family, I don't jive with a lot of people in my family, and there's money involved, big time money involved. So
Money
like,
does
literally
really cool stuff.
two-thirds of the people are just choose to not live reality
Yeah.
because of money, and 1/3 of the people are just like, no, we
Money's
see.
not a reality that you
Yeah.
should live, and it sucks. That sucks because it's already complicated to be human, and we've added that next level of complication,
Yeah.
which is like wealth, money, not having it, sucking off people for it, not sucking people off for it. But it just makes everything. It's already so hard to be a family.
It creates these power dynamics where people need to feel like a winner, and it's tough, man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I had a friend who passed away a few months ago, and I miss him. And he lost his brother in a motorcycle accident when he was young. He was like 19, 20, and his bro died, his younger brother. And I've never had anything like that happen to me. Thank goodness. And we were talking about it, and over that conversation, I found out like he doesn't speak to anyone in his family anymore. He had another sister. He had a dad. He had a mom.
And just the trauma just took him out over the whole thing.
He said that after it happened, there was like a short period of time where he tried to be like how they were, or tried to live life together or whatever. And he said it didn't. He stopped. It didn't suit him, and he was like, no. They tried to sort of skirt the loss. They tried to just live through it in a way that he wasn't ready to do, or all kinds
He
of
just
shit.
had to leave for his mental health.
And he fucking left, and he never went back. And I met him, and he was a loving,
Sane man.
beautiful genius.
Yeah.
Not just saying.
Some people need
Genius.
to do that
Like,
to save their own sanity, dude.
And when you do,
And you
and it's your
can't judge
family,
them.
it sucks. But
you meet that person has it together, and that person is whole still.
Yeah.
And so you just go, hey, man, I guess you did what you had to do.
yep, he was the wholest fucking person I knew, for real. That's not even an exaggeration. Like,
That's awesome, dude.
yeah, it was cool. Cool
Dude,
to
I
know.
believe you on that because you're an oddly dynamic person, truth be told. so
Thank
when you
you.
go, hey, man, this is the most dynamic person I've ever met, I'm like,
Man,
I
he was
think I need to
good.
meet that person.
Yeah, he was good.
So next question, George. Have you ever experienced the miraculous or the supernatural?
Supernatural, yeah. Miraculous, maybe. But
What supernatural thing have you experienced?
the supernatural thing was when I was a kid in the house that I grew up in Maryland. I came downstairs one day. I must have been like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Because I think my sister was like little. And I have the feeling it was like I had to piss, which but it feels rare for a kid to have to do that. But for whatever reason, I woke up, needed to piss, and it was a little 2-story house. Walked down the stairs. My dad was a cop, and he's with my mom in their bedroom, which you pass when you come down the stairs. And I sort of bend around through the hallway, and it was probably like 100-year-old house already, just little like suburban Maryland in Baltimore County.
Okay.
And so it opens right up into the living room. There's a couch there, and there's a dude sitting on the couch in the middle of the night looking right at me as I come up. Yeah, as I walk up, he's like looking straight ahead, but as I walk up and notice him, he notices me at the same time.
You're awake.
Motherfucker, I'm walking awake. To piss. Like I've never slept walk in my life or sleepwalked in my life. Never done it in my life. So maybe that was the only time I've ever done it, but like
you saw you're
I'm walking.
You're
walking. I would not do it for any other reason, but I needed to use the bathroom, and it's a straight shot, and I see him, and I like fucking stop. And if you saw like a cat or something in the middle of the night, like it would be a jump scare if they sort of startled you or something. You'd be like, oh, it was the cat, or oh, I thought I saw something. But I'm looking at this guy, scared, but also kind of calm in a weird way. I didn't.
Okay.
He didn't seem disgusting. Like he wasn't in any way aggressive, or he didn't seem like a scary dude. He just like noticed me and looked at me, and then he fucking waved. He was like, and he kind of smiled a little bit, waved for a little while, and then just put his hand down and went to like watching whatever the fuck he was watching. And I turned around, walked to my dad's room, my mom and dad's room. And again, I mentioned my dad's a cop because like he's a cop, so he feels like he can do whatever he's got guns and shit.
Of course. He feels like he can defend
He's
his
the
home.
protector. So I go in and I wake him up and I'm like, Dad, there's like a guy here. He's like in our house. And he's like, what? And he pops up and he just like pops out and I'm like, yeah, he was like sitting right there on the couch. And he's like sitting on the couch. He comes down the hallway. He looks around. He's like, there's no one here, man. And I'm like, huh. Well, fuck. Where'd he go? And
what was this dude wearing? Was he wearing new-timey clothes?
No, kind of like 70s clothes, 60s or 70s. Like old. I mean, this would have been in the 80s. Yeah. So it didn't look like 80s clothes, but it looked like not too distant or not too far in the past. He just looked like he had like a sort of a bushy mustache. It was someone that I did not recognize or had never seen since. But he was pleasant, so fuck it, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Wow.
Good guy.
Fair enough.
I should reach out to that guy and see if I can
start talking
summon him again. That'll be who I'm talking to. If you ever see me on the street and I'm fucking yelling and then waving at people and shit, I'm talking to that guy, yeah.
Wow. All right. Cool. That's interesting. Do you believe in love? And if yes, what is that? If not, why not?
Good question. I say that after every question, huh?
Yeah. These are very vague, good questions.
They are. They're very good. They're
very open-ended. The best part about it is you get different answers every time. And I think that's kind of the message of the podcast overall, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's this sort of like how we talked about how reality is chaos. I think the overall message of the sort of wink that I have towards humanity is at the end of this whole experiment, once there's hundreds of episodes, people are going to listen to them and go, oh yeah, reality is chaos.
Yeah. You'll get
literally everyone had different answers to every question. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think I believe in love because I feel like I've experienced it. but it's pretty complicated idea or term because
Right, yeah. It's so vague and it's like disgustingly vague almost to a certain point.
Yeah, you can love a stranger. You know, you can love.
I believe in love because I love stand up. That's
Right.
literally where
Exactly.
I've like landed
You
on.
can
I'm
love
like,
an
I
object,
love
you
stand up,
can-
so
yeah.
I guess I believe in love.
So I
you
must
know?
believe in love.
Right? Yeah.
Totally. I've loved many partners, but the work that I've tried to do on myself in the last 5 or 6 years is, or I guess you're doing it all your life, but like I've tried really hard the last 5 or 6 years, is to better digest like family love. Like it's hard because certain things didn't happen from pops, or certain things didn't happen from mom, or now I'm a dad, so I have a kid, and I'm like, man, I'm doing the same shit.
And you see that people aren't perfect and they have ulterior motives because they're not perfect, and it's fucked, man.
Totally. So it can crush love. But at the same time, like I said, I've had partners that I remember feeling like, you're brilliant, you're perfect, you're gold, you're everything.
Right, yeah. I've had the same thing, man. Even though it didn't work out, I still have affection towards these people.
Yeah.
And I still think
what a lovely moment to have for that person.
Yeah, that person is the bee's knees. Yeah. I also have that perspective. A lot of people don't. It's that whole Dr. Seuss, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Tough perspective to have.
Fuck yeah.
But
so for that reason alone, love exists, in my opinion. Just because even if you fucking had 1 second with it, that means that it exists somewhere, no matter how complicated it is with your family or with your friends or with yourself. You know?
Yeah, man. It's heavy. It's true.
Good stuff.
Now, is there anyone you hate? I don't ask the question, do you believe in hate? Because I hope no one believes in hate to a certain extent. But I do think that hate is real. I acknowledge it. And I think I always think that if hate does exist, oddly enough, you should name names if you are going to do that. But don't name names on the podcast. You know what I mean? But the idea is there anyone you hate in that sense? You know what I mean? Can you channel it down and say, I hate this person? Or do you experience hate? I guess it could be a vaguer question. You know what I mean? Like I always just ask, is there anyone you hate? Because I feel more comfortable. I don't want a person like being like, this is this group of people that I hate. I'm like, no, please. You know what I mean? Like, at least
collective hate.
Yeah, that's
real racism. Cool.
That's
bring it.
Terrible.
Bring it
and so I do think that individual hate, there's a certain level of healthiness to it. So I always ask, is there anyone you hate?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the one that we all hate is ourselves.
Fair enough.
It's the one that we hurt. I think, like when I think of the hate that comes out of me, because I live in LA and because I fucking drive everywhere, it's there. A lot of it is there. A lot of it comes out where I'm like, you're not going fast enough. Your etiquette is off. You're not kind enough. You didn't wave when I let you in. You're not going slow enough. You're not being safe. Now you're being reckless. You can be on the highways there and just hate everybody.
I remember I once heard that frustration literally purely comes from people not doing things you want them to do.
Right. But how crazy is that? I mean, you're the center of the universe again.
Yeah.
So
100. Yeah.
It's crazy, but I do feel like for driving, it's different, dude. You have a 2,000-pound weapon and you're in it and you're just like punching gas and punching brake. And if you can't see well, if you don't think on the fucking fly or whatever, and you're a bad driver, that means you're a deadly driver. Yeah. And so it goes beyond like, if I let someone go at a stop sign, it's because I really like to do that. I really like going, no problem, dude. And then that lady or man being like, no problem, dude, to you. It's like a reciprocal, lovely thing, like a gracious act. But when you see those fucking videos of guys, mostly in Florida, but just like, have you seen these? They're like driving their trucks or their car, and they'll just grab their gun out of their legal safe, because you can legally set yourself up to be a maniac. Yep. They pull their gun out, and then as they're driving, it's like dash cam like this. As they're driving, they'll just be like, you'll see them getting all fucking flustered, and then they're just like, all right. And the person comes up and they're just like, boom, 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 boom. They're shooting live rounds out of their civilian vehicle into another fucking person's car. That's when we gone, dude.
Is this on YouTube? Or?
Yeah, man. There's a bunch of them too. There's a guy shooting through his fucking windshield of his truck at another driver. And it's like, I understand that rage. I know. I want to kill everyone. If I could shoot fireballs.
And so you're just glad you don't have a gun in the car because
Yeah,
you realize there are
exactly.
certain points where you're like, if there
I'd
was a
use
gun
it.
right here right now,
It would just be like,
I would
ah,
be that guy.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's easy to hate because we are full of it for ourselves or like unto ourselves. There's weird stuff, like I was saying before, where it's like,
This is why I love doing the podcast, just from lines
Yeah.
like that. It's easy to hate because we're full of hatred for ourselves.
yeah, I think it's true. I mean, something about loving ourselves is so hard. I don't know how to do it. I'm trying, but it's like,
Yeah.
you get a laugh on stage, you love yourself for a fucking fraction of it.
Yeah.
And then you're immediately on to the next joke because you need it again. And then it comes, and you have it for a fraction, and then you're on to the next
And
joke.
then one disappointment sends
One disappointment,
you
dude.
down.
It's
Yeah.
even
you into that
close to a
spiral.
disappointment. There's no such thing as a disappointment.
Yeah,
You're
you're
on
100%
stage.
right.
You're
Yeah.
doing what you love. The moment is that.
Something just not coming perfectly sends you into afterwards sends you to a spiral. On stage you just move on to the next thing, but then afterwards you're like, oh, I that one, why did I do that? You know what I mean? That was dumb. You know, hindsight's 20/20. That was dumb. That one, you know, they just wanted goofy stuff and I went too serious in that moment, and you
you're
learn.
stuck.
Yeah, you just kind of you do have that disappointment, that hatred for yourself. I feel it as a whole, stand-up comedy and just performing in general. I think you can probably agree with this too. It does create that bit of dissociation that kind of gives you that ability to watch your own life, which does bring about these revelations. Which I think, oddly enough, as you talk about these guys in Florida, the thing that would keep you from becoming that guy in Florida is in that moment you would say to yourself, "Oh, I don't want to become the guy in Florida." You
Yeah.
know, and in that moment, the guys in Florida, they aren't having that conversation with themselves.
No, they are that guy in Florida.
Yeah, they're
shooting
watching the video afterwards and being like, "Oh, good God, I got so angry that I became that
Hopefully,
guy."
dude. Hopefully.
Yeah,
Because there's another part that's maybe like, we're pretty gone. Like, we're far from the source of what the fuck we're on this planet for, most likely. And there's a chance that these guys are, after they do some dumb shit like that, they're in a courtroom, they get whatever justice is served, quote unquote. And then they sit there and they're like, yeah, fuck that guy. Because he drove up real close to me and he threatened me.
Yeah.
He threatened me. I was defending myself
Yeah.
with my gun shooting through my windshield.
and they'll sit there in jail
Dude.
and tell that story to all of their buddies.
And if you tell it to
over and
your,
over
fuck your
again.
buddies. If you tell that story to yourself,
Yeah.
it's true. And that's who you are now.
Yeah.
And that's what you deal with.
And
The
if it
fucking
if it-
video
if
is
it-
great.
And if it makes sense, it makes sense. You know
To
what I
you,
mean?
yeah. Don't matter. You'll make it make sense.
And you and what it is your rage made sense. So
Yes.
like what the guy did to
And-
you makes sense, but the fact your reaction
It's
you-
crazy.
You can't go like, oh, I
Homicidal.
think I maybe overreacted.
No,
a
because you were
little
already
bit.
justified.
Yeah,
You did what you did in your justified rage because that guy is an asshole or that guy was aggressive.
Thank God, I will say this, and I think it's because I've seen other people go crazy in certain circumstances, and me look at those people and think, you do kind of have a point. My sister just one time went crazy on text messages, and the whole time I'm reading, I'm thinking,
With you?
No,
Just
another member of my
Yeah.
family went crazy on another member of my family, and the whole time I'm reading these text messages, I'm thinking, you actually have a point, but because you're so angry,
I can't
and
align.
because you're so vicious about it,
Can't back you up.
It can't seem sane enough for anyone else to have your back.
Yeah.
And there is a certain, and I think for me, it's happened with, I got to be honest with you. I know God is a very vague idea, but because of doing shit like this, I have a friendship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm able to do simple things like pick and choose my battles, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I'm able to find a point where I know I'm objectively right and then stay on point where I see other people and it's like they let personal shit get in. And once they leave that objective viewpoint,
It's hard to understand each other.
because now they're just fighting their subjective against somebody else's subjective.
Yeah. Which is a lot. That's a lot of what we really, America, but I guess a lot of countries have this. Any country that's dealt with like a nationalist fucking push seems to have this, where their identity is that.
I've never heard that word used in a while, push, but that is the right word. This nationalist push, yeah.
Yeah,
It's actual like it's like I think they call revolution a push in that way. There's actually I think you meant the word PUSH, but I think there's another word too that actually means
PUSCH.
Is that it? Yeah, push.
I meant to say pussy, but it came out push.
But I think that's ironic they use that word because it does actually mean that there is like this idea of that nationalist. So you think that kind of forms a collective consciousness that reflects onto the subjective?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
This idea that, like we talked about, I've been hurt more than anybody else.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, because I align
your
with
most important trauma.
Yeah.
It's all of yours.
And they take that from even a subjective to a bit larger, which is a tribal thing. And they maybe tell themselves it's objective at that point because there's more people involved. But it's not.
You
it's
can bend reality
subjective.
any direction you fucking want.
Yeah.
When you believe the story that you're telling yourself, then your reality is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Vindicated. Like we're all clean. All of us clean ourselves. Like
what I'm thinking about is there's this whole idea of subjective stuff. Like there's no objective. Like this is an objective wrong that happened to me. It's like you did this, and then it's very nitpicky. You know what I mean? But what's odd is people can take that to a higher level that isn't yet objective, which is just like I'm
offensive?
part of this. I'm part of, maybe I'm a part of this religion or a part of this ideals or part of this right wing, left wing.
And your views
this religion
offend me.
There's the other. Yeah. The idea of the other is still, even though you've taken it out of the microcosm subjective, you've almost brought it into the macrocosm subjective. Yeah. And you're thinking it's objective because it involves a lot of other people, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Yeah, it fucking is. It's true.
So, George Basil, this is the last question on the Waiting for Death podcast. And it's a question that all the other questions sort of lead up to. And it's the whole point of the ritual. It's a question that a friend of mine gave to me, and it hit me so hard that I kind of made a podcast around it. What is enough for you?
For me?
Yeah. What's enough? What would be enough? Where you just go, hey, man, that's fucking enough.
Ya basta. That's enough. And
yeah, where you maybe just need food, or you just need, I don't know. Just what's enough? What is enough?
What is total satisfaction?
Or the ability to just perpetually let go. Like, what would, you know what I mean? Where you hang your hat up and you go, nah, man, that was it.
Yeah, it's hard in a life that's.
Or I'm in the flow, whatever. You're like, what is enough?
Yeah, I don't think I've found it yet.
Fucking right?
No, yeah, no shit.
There's a part of you that goes like,
yet.
it'll never be enough.
It'll never be enough.
And then you're terrified of that. And then you go, well, what would it be?
Now, I don't even feel like I'm close to being enough or finding or feeling enough or any of it enough. Enough doesn't mean anything. I think as soon as you've had enough, well then, close your eyes. Go to sleep. Don't wake up. You did it. You've had it. You fucking succeeded. You won life, and you get the grand prize of a peaceful sleep. But nothing's enough, man. Doesn't matter. Like I don't know if it's the drive to live that keeps us from naturally feeling like, oh yeah, this is great. I've felt peace, like being with family and like enjoying your family, which is not a given. Like a lot of people.
Moments of completion.
Yeah. Moments of total fulfillment and like, this is great. These people fucking love me. I fucking love them. We're here in this beautiful place or whatever and enjoying our lives. That's still not enough.
Yeah.
Something in there is still bugging you. And it's still like, does that person really love you? Yeah. And you're like, what? Who was that?
It reminds me of that movie Inception where you're just like, is this all fake? You know what
Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
that's an even
And
different.
you don't know,
That's even
yeah.
further down, and you're like, wait,
Yeah.
why does it all feel so incomplete sometimes,
Yeah.
or so unlike satisfying?
There's a missing piece that completes
Something
you
somewhere.
believing that it's real.
Yeah,
To a
that it's
certain
real
point.
or that it's like good enough or whatever. And I definitely I think a lot of people I associate it with wealth. I feel like at this point I'm like, man, if I could be richer, then I could feel like not worried about things. I would feel ease for my daughter's life, or I'd feel
Yeah.
ease for whatever. And it's just not true.
Yeah, dude, we were talking about it before. Like you've had enough success as an actor that I was telling you earlier that I was like, dude, I know people who would stab other
Yeah.
people to be you.
Sure.
And you're like, oh man, it's still tough.
Here's the thing, because no one would stab another person to be me, because they'd be dead before this. They'd
Yeah.
already be dead. They'd
Okay.
already given the fuck up, because it's
Yeah.
not easier to be me than it's as easy to be anybody
Yeah.
else. They would
they'd go
stab
mad
someone.
the second they got you.
Yeah,
for
they just,
stabbing someone.
lose
They'd
their
just go
fucking brain.
mad because they'd realize that wasn't
They're like, oh
worth it.
no. Yeah,
I
I killed that
literally-
poor guy to be him, and now he is just as complicated and fucked as I am.
As I was, and the
And that other
whole
body,
game
whatever.
just reset itself at a
For
different
sure.
level.
I
Isn't
could.
that fucked,
Yeah,
dude?
it can be.
Dude, I've experienced moments where I'm at the top of industries. I've experienced moments where I've been unemployed.
Yep.
And either way, life was fucking
hard.
tough.
Yeah. It's
And
true.
there was people I had to please. There was goals I had to meet.
Yeah.
There was things I had to do just to get to the next
And
step.
imagine this: you nor I have ever spent the night outside in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
On top of 100.
Ever. And if we ever had to, we would not. We would find a way. We'd kill
Yeah.
somebody and sleep inside them.
Or our brains would adjust itself to realize, oh, this is just one night, and
Something.
I'll be doing something tomorrow.
But
and
that's
I would
a
make those
different.
moves and-
That
or-
existence is so far
Or
from
maybe I'd
ours.
glorify it like those folk had to a certain degree, where you
Yeah.
just go, "This is my identity now," because I would have.
Boy, how
to.
do you even do that? Do you sleep during the day and then at night you keep moving? Because you can't fall asleep in sub-zero or whatever. If freezing temperatures, you fall asleep, you die. If you're unprotected, even a sleeping bag, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, no. No.
In a sleeping bag, you're okay?
They were, yeah, because people go to like the Himalayas and shit. You know what I mean? In a sleeping bag. People
They
go to
got like
Antarctica
that.
and
They
shit.
got nice camping gear on the streets.
They really did. That was the whole weird
Oh.
part about it. Is
They were hooking people up to live.
No, they were just buying air mattresses and like nice sleeping bags. You know what I mean? And here's
that's-
the thing. I mean, imagine you don't own a house, but you have $100 to spend on a nice sleeping bag that you saved up, or somebody gave you $100 whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You got set up with a nice sleeping bag. That's terrible to think that's the only thing you have in the world, and your level of comfort.
Terrible to
is
you. Terrible to me, maybe. But I don't know if that's terrible. I don't think that's any less terrible than like I spend 4.5 hours every day looking at TikTok. Because that
agree. There's a
is
poverty in
terrible.
that, too.
There's a poverty. There's a
There's
cultural
a severe
poverty.
There's a severe poverty in
Fucking
that too.
right.
100%. And to be fair, there were probably people in olden times who were traveling from point A to point B, sleeping outside, and if they had a sub-zero sleeping bag from some outdoor world store,
They'd fucking
dude,
it.
they'd be like, "This is the bee's fucking knees, man.
would be their
I'm
survival, yeah,
I'm gonna
they'd
get a
like-
wife with this."
Exactly.
You know what
They'd be
mean?
like, I just got
Yeah.
a date because of this sleeping bag.
Yeah, because this is olden times, and they're traveling between cities, man, and they have some bee's knees sleeping bag made out of mammoth wool. That was the bee's knees. That was the outdoor world's most expensive sleeping bag of the time.
REI, synthetic mammoth wool.
Whatever, and they So yeah, dude. To a certain extent, sometimes maybe these guys in Green Bay, Wisconsin, who are in these sleeping bags, that are these REI Sub-Zero sleeping bags, maybe they think they got the world by the balls because someone once gave them $100 and they got that REI sleeping bag. Hey, they're on TikTok. They're getting a following. They got a scheme. The scheme is
better
I'm
do something.
homeless.
Yeah. 100%.
And so at a certain point, you just go, I guess it's a scheme, man. Maybe that scheme will rocket you past me.
Yeah.
Looking right. It's the uncertainty of it all.
Outrun the bear.
Outrun the bear. George, this has been an awesome,
Good pod.
epic episode of the Waiting for Death podcast
yeah.
on the set of the film Didn't Die, which I found out the name after I started the podcast. So we're waiting for death? Hey, but we didn't die.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
It was awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, George. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.